everybody. Welcome to Under the Arch Sports. I'm Eric Hobbs.
And I'm David Woldingen.
And today we are going to talk about the St. Louis Cardinals, the offseason moves that they made, and really we're going to discuss if it's enough for the Cardinals to challenge for the NL Central and to make a playoff run in the fall. Before we get into that, make sure you guys find us on social media, subscribe to our YouTube channel, find us on Facebook and Instagram. Go to Instagram. I've been promoting that. We're at 99 followers. Let's get to 100. Come on. You can be number 100. Let's do it. Now, David, the Cardinals didn't make that many moves in the offseason. You could almost make an argument that the team got better in a case of addition by subtraction with Matt Carpenter and Carlos Martinez both moving on.
Yeah, the good news is we don't have to see Carpenter coming up to the plate and cringing every time he tries to swing and for a home for the fences, whatever you want to call it. His refusal to just put the ball in play just baffled me. So it's going to be nice to see him gone.
Like you said, with Matt Carpenter, it was long overdue. There's the one YouTube clip where he bunted down the left field line one time and then refused to do it for 5 more years, even though he faced the exact same shift. So that was just hubris. And Carlos Martinez, that's well documented. Whether or not he's healthy and with, whether he just gets inside his own head. Let's face it, both of them signed minor league contracts. So, yeah, addition by subtraction, like I said.
The one bat they added was Corey Dickerson, coming from Toronto, and I believe they're planning on using him for the most part as a DH, but it's also a good addition because he's good out in the outfield too, so he'll give our guys in the outfield breaks from time to time, and they can slide into the DH role so they don't wear down as much throughout the season. So it's actually a pretty good pickup there.
Yeah. That's the one pickup that I think has a chance to work out really well. It's a 1-year deal, $5 million. That at this point, that's just taking a flyer on a guy. And the guy's been an all-star. He won a Gold Glove, 2017, 2018, something like that. He's fallen off a little bit offensively, so it's not like the Cardinals are picking up a guy who's coming off a 20 home run season, but he's capable. And I think the Cardinals. All right, if not, at worst case, that is an added bat for the bench, if nothing else. And that's if, Lars Nootbaar or somebody else ends up being the DH. But like you said, that's depth for the outfield, and it's a left-handed bat, which this lineup needs badly. It's worth a $5 million contract to take a risk and see if he doesn't work out, I think. I'd like to have seen another signing offensively to try and just boost the lineup because there's pieces and it's capable. But let's face it, for the first 90 games, the team was just not doing anything offensively.
Well, it's a 1-year contract. If it fails, you don't have to worry about it. The good news is you can't be worse than Matt Carpenter. Now, Eric, let's talk about the Cardinals pitching staff, pitching rotation in general. First off, it must be noted we have 2 early injuries during spring with Flaherty and Reyes both having shoulder problems, and it's looking like for sure Flaherty won't be starting off with the team. What exactly did the front office do to maybe address some of our pitching injury shortcomings before the season started?
Well, they made a few moves. Aside from Dickerson, every transaction or every addition was a pitcher. The most noteworthy, I'd say, is Steven Matz. Signed on a 4-year deal, left-handed pitcher. You assume he's going to be a starter, and that's going to loom large with Flaherty out. He will be reevaluated right at the end of March, and that's just going to be to determine some sort of prescribed treatment and rehab plan for him. So Flaherty will not be ready for opening day, nor will Alex Reyes. I think there's a good chance of that being a solid pickup. Left-handed pitcher, that's great. 14 wins a year ago, I believe. So capable of winning. And looking at the other pitching moves, they're all kind of like, well, let's throw it against the wall, see if it sticks in terms of reinforcing the bullpen. You're looking at Nick Whitgren, who has been solid. He made headlines when his family posted on social media how they'd received death threats. He blew a save pitching for the Indians, now Guardians. And I got death threats from angry fans. So he made news posting about that. So that made Cardinals fans, oh, great, the guy who blew the save and got death threats because he was so terrible, which, that's an overreaction, but, that's what Facebook is for. You're also looking at Drew Verhagen, who, kind of interesting, pitched for the Tigers from 2014 to 2019, career win-loss record of 10-11 with an ERA of 5.11, which is, not going to give you the warm fuzzies, but we'll see what happens with him. He pitched the past 2 seasons in Japan with a record of 13-14. Again, not the warm fuzzies, but maybe he's sixth, seventh inning guy, and maybe he can make it work for an inning or 2 at a time. Same deal for Whitgren. I assume he's going to be kind of middle relief, just setting things up for Jordan Hicks and Alex Reyes once Reyes is healthy. There's just not a lot going on with the transactions for the Cardinals, and really the big point behind this discussion is I don't know that the Cardinals have done enough to improve the team to really challenge for anything of importance in terms of winning the division, making a playoff run, challenging for a pennant and World Series.
Yeah, I agree with that. Their additions, are just like Band-Aids, really. I don't even know if they're going to stick. I feel like Mozeliak and the front office have this philosophy, and they've had it for a while now, and it's very frustrating, where they try to rely on what they have through their draft picks and things like that, and are not out to go out and just get a really good pitcher. Drew Verhagen, I feel like they're trying to pull what they did with Miles Michaelis, and Lord knows if that's going to work or not. So I really don't think they addressed getting a true starter, which is really frustrating because while, we have Jack Flaherty and the possibility of Alex Reyes either in a rotation or on our back end as a closer, we don't really have a durable, if you will, starting rotation. And there's that nagging issue of possibly dealing with injuries all season. We have a great couple of minor league pitchers, specifically Matthew Liberatore, who could possibly do things, but even last year in the minor leagues, he was 9-9. So while he can throw the ball 98 miles an hour, he's still learning how to pitch. So I wouldn't rely on him necessarily to fill in that gap.
And even if you've got a guy like that who you think might be ready, you don't want to rush him. He's so highly thought of, and everyone thinks this dude's going to be a stud. Don't rush him. Let him develop, man. If the Cardinals are considering Liberatore as one of those next guys up in the event of injury, I think it's foolish, and I think you're playing with his career, really. As it is, with Jack Flaherty being on the shelf for a little while, you're looking at someone like a Jake Woodford or a Drew Verhagen at being your 5th starter for a while, and this is on top of the fact that you're looking at 40-year-old Adam Wainwright, who it has been fine. He did great, but you can't assume it given his age. He's been effective. He's been healthy, which is good. You just can't assume it. And then you look at Dakota Hudson. All right, He's coming off Tommy John. Good. He should be healthier. Should be. But, I mean, let's face it. While he showed great signs of being able to be a great prospect and effective pitcher, when he was healthy, he had control issues. He was walking tons of guys. Is he going to come back and be is he going to be an accurate pitcher? You can't assume that Dakota Hudson's going to be able to go out there and give you 200 innings and go 15-10 or something like that.
Yeah, and that's what I was talking about. Whatever reason, the front office has this philosophy of not paying for a good quality starting pitcher, and it's extremely frustrating because to me as a fan, or to anyone as a fan base right now, it looks like they're just trying to get to the playoffs.
Yeah.
And they're not trying to win anything. And like, we want that big splash hire. We know they have the money. They're just not doing it. And it's really frustrating to see.
Yeah, you know, the Cardinals were rumored to be one of the contenders for Trevor Story, who just signed with Boston. The deal was for 6 years, $140 million, if I'm remembering it correctly. That's a healthy contract, but that's not outrageous by any means. I kind of was expecting it to be for more money, and given that, I don't know. I don't know if the Cardinals are just content with Paul DeJong and Edmundo Sosa duking it out to see who gets shortstop, but I think that was a reasonable guy to go after for that price.
Or are they going to try put Nolan Gorman, who's in our minor league system, up through the rankings?
And move him up to second base and move Edman over to short?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the bottom line is the front office, who responsible for all these transactions, I don't think they did anywhere near enough to make this team a true contender. The Cardinals were 90-72 after going nuts to finish the season, right? Remember, they were floating right around 500 and then just took off like crazy. Still 5 games back of the Brewers. So you're looking up at your defending division champion winning 95 games. This team did not make moves to be in a position to expect 95 wins. And it's frustrating and it's disappointing. And then when you hear the entire organization talk about how they really believe they're a World Series contender, to an extent, you expect the players especially to say things like that. But the front office, they're doing the bare minimum to be able to have something to point to say, see, we did this, when fans get pissed off about not winning enough. And I agree with what you said. I think they're doing just enough to be that 6th team into the playoffs. The Cardinals front office probably cheered as soon as they added the other wild card, just because that means they can do less and make the playoffs, spend less money, and get there.
Don't get me wrong, I think this team can make the playoffs, but we don't have the pitching to make a long run. We just don't. Well, and if you look in our own division, can you honestly say our pitching rotation is better than Milwaukee right now?
No, not a chance.
No.
Yeah, and think you're playing the Brewers 20 times and 21 times, whatever it ends up being. And you got to face their rotation that much. And you didn't do anything about it. You said, all right, you got them. Cool. Go check this out. We signed Steven Matz. That doesn't scare anybody.
And I think back before they went on that run near the end of the season last year where our pitchers were going 4 and 5 innings and we were trying to rely on the bullpen and we were barely scraping through games because they were barely holding on just because our pitchers weren't going deep enough.
Yeah. And you got to remember how most of last season played out offensively. It wasn't very pretty. They tore the cover off the ball as a club the last month or so, right? Mm-hmm. Paul Goldschmidt in particular. I think they're like, oh, see, now they're finally doing what we thought they would, and so they don't make any moves.
Well,
and that hot stretch to end last season was the worst thing that could have happened for the Cardinals in terms of improving themselves for 2022. Well, now they got a false sense of security. They don't got to do anything.
I will say this about our organization, and I don't know if they've ever really put much thought into it, and they should. Our ballpark, Busch Stadium, it allows at least, I think it's like 29th or 30th in Major League Baseball for allowing home runs.
Oh, it's a pitcher's park. Absolutely.
Nowadays, especially with Ballpark Village being built and everything, the ball doesn't fly out. Why don't you build to the strengths and build a strong starting rotation and play off your defense? We already have 5 Gold Glovers on our defense. Why not play on our strengths? Get some good, solid pitching, and hold teams down and do it with your defensive pitching. I mean, they're trying to right now, but they're not going out and getting those solid pitchers that you can do that with.
Yeah, you can see them going with that approach, but then they're not really committing to it by making any splash moves in terms of signing a pitcher. Look, I think Steven Matz, I think he's capable. I think he can be a solid 3rd or 4th starter. But when that is your marquee signing, that or Corey Dickerson, if that's your marquee move of the offseason, that's not enough. I don't believe you when that's the best you do it, and then you turn around and say that you're committed to winning. I don't believe you.
Especially after losing a solid pitcher like Kim K.
KK, yeah. Yeah, losing him to Korea. Now, tough to get mad at him for that. He jumped ship to go back to his home country, one, to be with his family, I'm sure, but also he saw the circus of the lockout still going on, and he said, yeah, I'd like a job, thank you.
Yeah, I don't blame him at all, but it hurts the Cardinals in the fact that he was a solid pitcher. When he wasn't fighting injury, he did his job and did what we needed him to do.
Absolutely.
So that's one more you're taking away from our rotation and leaving uncertainty, if anything. So it's just frustrating to see how the front office handled it this year. It'll be interesting to see how things develop and if we can rely on like Dakota Hudson, because again, we don't know what we're getting out of them because they're coming off injury.
Yeah, I think it's just one more of the assumptions that the front office is making that, oh, wait, Tommy John surgery, he'll be better than before. Hopefully. Dude still has to prove that he can throw strikes at the big league level consistently.
Right. Anyway, that's all we have for Under the Arc Sports. Stay tuned because as the final roster comes out for St. Louis as spring training ends, we'll come out with a preview for the season. Thank you for watching.